One thing that my three loyal fans know about me is this. When I watch these old movies of the 1940s, I love seeing real location footage from the time. And boy, did I hit the jackpot with my latest discovery. The Naked City from 1948 was a big city crime film, one that in a lot of ways is the granddaddy of a lot of the police procedural TV shows that we've seen through the decades. But this one goes all out with its copious amount of footage, showing us the real streets of New York City from the 1940s. Bustling roads, back alleys, trains, stores, you name it. And I loved it. This was a crime thriller, but one that makes you feel like you're really there in the big city watching this story unfold. Let me give a summary of the film, spoiler free, and then I'll close with some analysis and some of the things I learned about the film. Now, you've probably heard that famous line, there are 8 million stories in the naked city, and this has been one of them. Well, this is the film where that comes from originally. The film opens up with a flyover of the city of New York, and we hear narration by producer Mark Hellinger, kind of telling us what's going along throughout the film, and we'll hear him give voiceover from time to time during all of the action. The film begins with a new day dawning in the city, and we see New Yorkers bustling about, getting on with their lives, and we see our lead characters, Lieutenant Dan Muldoon, played by actor Barry Fitzgerald. He's getting ready in his apartment, singing an Irish tune. We also see Don Taylor, who plays Detective Jimmy Halloran. He's a family man, he's a young guy, and he's saying goodbye to his wife and his son as he heads off to work. And we're pretty quickly right into the story. There's been a murder. A young model, Jean Dexter, has been found deceased in her apartment. The detectives arrive and work the case and determine what looks like an accidental drowning death in her tub, and they find out that this was actually murder. They learn, in addition to this, that her expensive jewelry is missing. So they go through the detective steps, they follow various leads, including speaking with her doctor who had prescribed sleeping medicine for her and so on. Now, back at the station, Muldoon interrogates a character named Frank Niles, played by actor Howard Duff. This is Jean's ex-boyfriend, and he's a really sketchy character who just seems to lie about everything, but claims only a professional relationship with Jean, and he has a pretty good alibi as well. They also track some of the jewelry to a Ruth Morrison, played by actress Dorothy Hart, who was Jean's friend and also a fellow model, and who may know more than she admits. As the investigation continues, they find the body of a small-time jewel thief in the East River. He had been murdered within hours of Jean. Halloran thinks there's a connection, and he investigates that line, seeking a suspect named Garza, while Muldoon continues to question Niles in order to take the investigation in a different direction as he tries to determine the identity of Jean's mystery boyfriend, someone with the name of Henderson that had been identified earlier at the crime scene. So, meanwhile, working on his own, Halloran manages to locate this character named Garza, played by a very young Ted DeCorsia. But what will happen? Well, you need to watch the ending for yourself, and what an ending. I don't want to give too much away about this one, but I'll just say at the very end, the chase on the Williamsburg Bridge is pretty darn epic and really makes for a fantastic ending to this crime classic. Well, let me offer some closing thoughts. The Naked City was released in 1948 and was produced by Universal. It was directed by Jules Dawson, who has directed other similar films such as Brute Force in 1947 and Night of the City in 1950, and I really do hope to check out some of his other films in the near future. And while the story and acting from this film, they were all great, as mentioned earlier, what really stands out the most in this film is that wonderful footage taken in the city. I mean, honestly, this film is a visual treat. It's almost like a documentary at times. The living feel of the city, the atmosphere of life in the 1940s. It feels like the characters in this film are actually occupying a real place, not just some Hollywood studio. And it's little moments that just color this film. Here's a couple that stood out to me. I mean, check it out. It's a horse-drawn milk delivery cart. Or how about this kid eating his popsicle, not realizing a chunk of it has just fallen off. Or even when the detective stops for a cold root beer at the corner place. Just look at all the details of this scene. All of the bustle of the city outside. It's like you yourself could just step into this real place and get that cold soda for 10 cents. The filming background is fascinating as well. A lot of the location footage that was taken in New York was done without the public's knowledge. Cinematographer William H. Daniels would actually use a hidden camera on the back of an old moving van, or he would set up a fake newsstand with a secret camera to capture the footage. So people were walking around in the background, had no idea what was going on, that they were going to be a part of this film. Director Jules Dawson even hired a juggler to distract the crowds and would use tricks like that just to get the attention of the people. The film would make history for its use of over 100 exterior locations. I watched the film twice, and there's just so much to pick up on and to watch and appreciate. Now, beyond just the city footage of the film, I really enjoyed the story and the characters of this film. And as mentioned at the beginning, this was clearly the inspiration for many of, what you call the police procedurals that you would see in so many television shows over the years, up to the present day, to be honest. Just thinking of some at random, shows like Dragnet in the 50s, Columbo and Kojak in the 70s, Hill Street Blues in the 80s, Law and Order in the 90s, all of the CSI shows through the 2000s. I mean, even today, my dad's a big fan of Blue Bloods, and with all of these, they have those similar elements. There's a crime to solve. So you've got the investigation, the crime scene details, you got all the interviews with the complex criminal characters and all of those sneaky red herrings. And all the while, the story is blending in elements of legal, moral, or ethical dilemmas, family dynamics, that kind of thing. And just like with this film, the shows will also incorporate location footage to add to the realism. I think of shows like Miami Vice or even Hawaii Five-0, that include actual real-life places and settings. Again, I think this film set the standard for that practice. Well, in any case, I just thought this was a great film. The murder investigation unfolds at an enjoyable pace. It's peppered with all of that great city footage, and I really liked how the investigation goes through the usual steps of working through a number of suspicious people before it finally splits into two different directions as we near the end of the film, with Halloran tracking down this mysterious harmonica-playing wrestler, while Muldoon keeps his focus more on that sketchy Niles character. And while there are several investigators involved in the story, it really boils down to these two, Halloran and Muldoon, who make up the core of the film. And I liked how watching it there's almost like a father-son dynamic between the two. Halloran is this young guy, he's got a family, and he's the rookie investigator, while Muldoon is this older, seasoned veteran who has a fatherly kindness and patience with Halloran. And it's funny how with these kind of formulas for crime shows that the old wise investigator always seems to be living alone, married only to his job. And I know there are some exceptions, but here Muldoon is just apparently a lonely character living primarily for his detective life. And I see that in a lot of the crime shows as well, but you can correct me in the comments if I'm missing some examples. I know Columbo's always talking about his wife and so on. And a couple other thoughts. Ted DeCorsia was great as the character of Garza. And this was one of his very first roles. He made an excellent and intimidating character in this film. This film was also the inspiration for a half-hour television series called just Naked City. The series ran for a season in 1958 to 1959 and would return in 1960 as an hour-long drama running to September of 1963. And it would also have a couple TV movies as well. And one final note about the narration. So as mentioned, producer Mark Hellinger provides a voiceover throughout the film. It just kind of comes and goes during different scenes. And look, some people might find it a little bit intrusive. I get it. But it didn't really bother me that much. It just kind of pops in here and there, mostly to color the story and keep things moving. It reminded me a little bit of Blade Runner, in the original cut when you have Harrison Ford's narration. Some people like that kind of thing, others don't. I'll let you be the judge. So to wrap this one up, The Naked City from 1948, it was a fantastic crime story featuring strong performances from Barry Fitzgerald, Howard Duff, Dorothy Hart, and Ted DeCorsia. The murder mystery unfolded at a steady, satisfying pace, and as I have said more than once, this film is absolutely packed with gorgeous, authentic, late 1940s New York footage. You know, even if you watch the film just for that, you're going to love this movie. It's a real gem and definitely one worth checking out.